Hi there! This video is going to be going over all of our different chicks and what they look like when they're first hatched by breed. Oftentimes we have customers reach out to us after they've received a box of chicks and say, I don't know who's who. In an effort to reduce plastic waste, we don't band our chicks. We also are concerned about the health and safety of the chicks by banding their little legs with different colored rings. In case anybody forgets to take them off, they can girdle the legs of the chicks, so it's a safety concern for us as well. So, for you to be able to identify the chicks, we're making this video for you. Lots of our breeds do look similar as chicks, so if you have a hard time telling who's who, know that around 7 weeks of age, you'll be able to see the distinct color differences that can come about as their adult feathers come in. And then, of course, when they're adults, you'll really know who's who by the different egg colors that the females are laying. So, without further ado, I want to start with our moss eggers. Now, when the moss eggers are really straightforward, they are a lighter colored chick. Sometimes they're a lighter colored chick with interesting spots, sometimes without, but they're always going to have a kind of yellowish tinge to them. Occasionally they'll have kind of a lavenderish tinge, and they will always have little feathered legs. Now, moss eggers can also hatch out in black and blue. This kind of grayish color we call blue. The black and blue chicks also have little feathered legs. And that's how you know they're the moss eggers. Now, looking very similar to the moss eggers are the French black copper Morans. The French black copper Morans are going to be a all black backed chick, sometimes with a little white penguin face. This one doesn't have so many penguin markings on the face, some kind of white on the cheeks, or sometimes more presenting like this, little stripes on the cheeks, always with a little tuxedo belly and the feathered legs. Now, why the moss eggers and the Morans look similar is that there is some Morans blood in with the moss eggers, and that's what makes the moss eggers what they are with the dark color, so that's why they can look similar. But you'll know you have a Morans from a moss egger because the Morans are going to be a little bit more plump. A lot of people, when they pick up the Morans, they think, oh my gosh, are these chicks older? They're not. They're just more of a plump chick. Next we have the German Felder. Now, the German Felder females are going to look very different from the German Felder males. The males are going to have some sort of a dot on the head. The females, like this one, can have a little dot on their head, but the females are going to have an unbroken chipmunk stripe from the tip of their head right here, kind of their crown, all the way down to their rump. So it's pretty easy to tell the males. Azure egger males will look very similar to the German Felder males. The German Felder females are going to be a plumper bird, and they're also going to have almost a wider stripe, chipmunk stripe down the back. Our azure egger female, which I'm going to pull out for you right now and put next to the German, they do look very similar. They both have a chipmunk stripe. They both have those little Cleopatra lines on their eyes. But if you look closely, you'll see, especially in the front of the face here, let's see if we can get them both to turn, the azure egger is going to have a tighter stripe. It's not going to be as kind of shaggy looking and wide. And it's a really subtle difference, but that's how you know you have the azure egger female and the German Felder female. German Felder, a little bit plumper, but I think the easier way to identify the difference is in the tightness of the stripe. As they grow older, the azure egger female is going to be showing more of a silverish hue, more gray in the feathers, and the German Felder is going to show in the adult feathers kind of a confetti pattern. It'll be more of a rusty looking feather with these interesting white patterns on them. I'm going to keep the azure egger, and so we can compare that to a Welsummer. The Welsummer also has a chipmunk stripe, but similar to the German, they're going to be having a wider chipmunk stripe than the azure. See how it's not as tight? There's also this white on the side of that extra shagginess. The azure has kind of less of a pronounced white on it than the Welsummer does. The Welsummer, if you look at the face, it's kind of, again, more of a shaggy face. Now, Welsummers can't be guaranteed male or female, so you won't be able to tell who's who, even by the eyeliners. Ours, it's not a guaranteed line, so we don't sell them as male or female. We just sell them as straight run chicks. I'll put the German back so you can kind of see the three of them, woo, together. Try and line up their faces for you. Azure, Welsummer, and the German. You see how there's some slight differences in the coloring. You put the German back. So we still have our azure and our Welsummer. And now I want to show you our Sageager. Sageager, again, very similar. The main difference with the Sageager that you'll see as they grow older between the azure and the sage is that the sage is going to have, I'm going to put the Welsummer back. The sage is going to grow up and have more of rusty undertones in the feathers. The azure, if you remember, is going to grow up and have some grayish tones, some silverish tones. The Sageager is going to have more of these rusty tones. That's the part of the influence of the genetics coming out in it. So here's their faces side by side. Sageagers are also sold straight run. We can't guarantee the gender of the Sageagers, but if you end up with females, they're going to be laying really interesting green eggs, sometimes with speckles at a really high rate. So if you have a lot of chipmunks in your box, you might say, who's who? But hopefully you can kind of tell by the ones I've been pointing out over and over, azure, sage, what those very slight differences are. I'm going to be putting those back. And now I want to show you our ice bar. Our ice bar, all ice bar have the potential of hatching out in blue. This color again, this kind of grayish color is considered blue, black, and splash. Our lines don't tend to give a lot of black chicks, so we have a lot of the blue and most of the splash. Now, even though this chick is going to grow up to have the white feathering with black speckles on it, the chicks aren't going to have the white with black splotches like the mossagers. The mossagers have these really distinct spots. The ice bar do not. The splash ice bar are going to be kind of gray like this. How you'll know you have an ice bar is that there's no feathering on their legs. And their legs are going to be kind of a steel color. Their legs aren't particularly yellow. Next we have our double silver lace Barnevelders. These are pretty obvious. These are going to be a silver chick that's like a silvery chipmunk. Sweet little face. And they definitely stand out in the bunch. Next are our Cerama. You'll know you have a Cerama because of the size and the kind of elongated face. You know, they have these longer beaks, these interesting longer faces. Cerama hatch out in all different colors, but you'll know that you have one based on the size and the clean legs. Extra cute as a chick are our Bantam Cochins. Bantam Cochins are going to be a smaller chick like the Cerama, and they hatch out in this color, sometimes a bluish with the yellowish undertone, and they have remarkably fuzzy legs. They're plumper than the Cerama. Seems a little more talkative as chicks. Let's see if I'm forgetting anybody here. If you have a Homesteader chick from us, the Homesteaders can come out looking like the chipmunks. They can come out looking like the Morans or the mossagers, and sometimes they come out with little cheeks. You see the cheeks on this cute one? These puffy little cheeks on the side. Whoop. Puffy cheeks and hairy legs. If you got one of these chicks, this is a special cross that we've been working on of a crowed Lanshan crossed with an Americana. The reason why we're doing this cross is they are very sweet birds. They're almost like gentle giants. They're a larger framed bird, but they seem to be climate resilient, so they can take the heat that has been thrown at us in California up to 113 degrees, and they can also withstand the cold. So if you live in some place that is sub-zero or getting a lot of wind chill and snow, they're a really great option for you. So our Homesteader Chicks can look like a smattering of all of our different breeds, but you'll only see that unique mix of the cheek feathers, the little cheeks, and the furry legs in that mix. A lot of people will say, what kind of chick is that? And that's the cross of that chick. Our olive eggers can hatch out in blue or black, and they always have feathered legs. Sweet little faces, very similar to the moss egger in appearance, but they'll be laying a different shade of green egg. That's all of the breeds that we have available currently. Each year we change it up a little bit, and so there might be some fun additions. But for now, hopefully this will get you started in understanding which of the breeds you have. We hope you enjoy your chicks, and thank you so much for supporting our farm and mission.